as always, it's me. Well, some would say Botluck, but really it's just Walter. So, some quick news updates. Pertaining to the review of End War, that, slowly working through it, I've finished up the audio recording, just need to do the green screen, which really isn't going to be that much. Oh hey, my phone's working. At which point we then start with video editing, and I'm hoping to get the review out hopefully by next month, but we won't know. Next up on that, sometime in April, I plan on going to an anime convention. That's the plan, at least. I'm not going as a guest or anything, it's just a quick little visit. More updates on that to come. If you wish to ask, we'll see about telling what convention that is to give you guys an idea of where I'm heading. But really, it's more of a me thing rather than a let's get the fans together kind of thing. But we'll see how that goes. Other little updates. Channel's been doing all right. But now that we've gone through the updates of this, let's begin with the Digimon reference manual. Some quick returns. Don't know why I use that word. Looking back on our reference manual, we've had a few new perfects. We found some more recolors that are earlier than the originals, to be expected. And hopefully this session we will get to Renamon and her X-Antibody version. I may end on Renamon, I may end on Ryutamon or Salamon. It will depend on how I am. Other thing I'd like to go over on this session is to discuss the situation of Digimon World and on GOG, and of the new Digimon game coming out. Sort of my opinion on how that's going to occur. What I think is going to happen, and some of the problems and hurdles GOG will have to contend with should they move forward with it. Outside of that, just quickly checking to see if anyone is watching. Other little updates that need to be content with. So, now how this works, as many of you know, the way how this reference manual works is I go over a design of one of the Digimon. I give my opinion on them. I have to say something that I like about the design, something I dislike about the design, what I would change with the design, that sort of things. I can't be vague with the design. Can't be like, oh, this doesn't feel like a Digimon. I have to explain why it doesn't feel like a Digimon, or why I feel it looks like a Digimon. There has to be some semblance of me giving this reference, me giving my opinion. Bear in mind, like I said, this is all my opinion. So I could be very wrong with some of these with opinions on these designs. I also have to read the description of the Digimon in order to... It has been 2 weeks already. Yep, that's right, Renamon565, and it looks like the chat is working. I guess it just turns out whenever I type, the chat does not work on my screen. So, other things to contend with, other little rules things on this. If I declare a perfect, I have to explain why it's a perfect. So, with that out of the way, let's sort of continue on the rookies. Last we went up was with Patamon, which as we know is one of the earlier Digimon. Let me move the mic just a bit. Keep that out of screen. But yeah, so going on to our next Digimon, and this is one of the few cases where I'm okay with recolors. Here we have Pawn Chessmon Black, and to an extent we're also going to add in Pawn Chessmon White, because they're the same Digimon by all accounts, but there may be some differences. So we're going to quickly read the profile. A puppet Digimon born from data that flowed from a chess supercomputer. While weak at first, this cannon fodder Digimon possesses the ability to be promoted as it gains achievements, until it even attains Mega Class power. Its catchphrase is, "I only advance." Anyone who seeks promotion before Pawn Chessmon Black is treated as a rival. It uses its special move, Pawn Spear, to stab with its spear, or Pawn Buckler to hold up its round shield for a charge. In addition, Pyramid Formation is a special mode that can halt the attacks of even an Ultimate Class Digimon when Pawn Chessmon Black obtains backup support from its allies. So right from the get-go, we have a pretty basic idea. It's a pawn. It's a chess pawn. And as many of you know, chess pawns are... It is one of the weakest pieces in the game, but it is a very powerful piece in that it can be promoted into just about any piece except the king. Although I have heard there was reports of one game of chess where a pawn was promoted to a king. Regardless, the chess master put both kings into check. So, design-wise, we have... They took a very basic concept, the pawn piece, which, as we know, is just... It's basically a stick with a ball on one end. And they turned it into armor. And for that, I liked the idea of taking a very basic piece and turning it into an armor. Very fantasy-esque, almost... Oh, how do I put it? Alice in Wonderland. That's my phone. That is Etsy. Don't ask. I like the Alice in Wonderland feel of Pawn Chessmon. It's certainly something I would expect from Disney or, well, again, Alice in Wonderland. What I think I don't like about the design is... I think I dislike the use of the shield. If only because I think it adds too much of this powerhouse thing, more of like a phalanx. And in chess, at the very least, from how I've seen and played, pawns aren't really known for phalanxes. They're more of just setting up a line, not really a phalanx. Now, I get the idea it's supposed to provide a support, but I think in this case it would have been better to omit the shield and just keep the spear. I think that's how I would improve this. Omit the shield, keep the spear, and just have it like a standard footman creating a line. I also think the spikes on the side of the helmet are a bit much. I'm okay with the spike on the head. That's a decent addition. But the spikes on the side, I think, are a little too much. Otherwise, it's a fairly good design. The concept works and reads decently well. I'm almost giving it the perfect. I think the reason I'm prohibiting this design getting a perfect is with the spikes and the shield, it's giving me more of a Kingdom Hearts feel. And Kingdom Hearts is a good series, but between the Nobodies and the Heartless, there's some very distinctive character design elements that this is kind of sharing, and adding in the spikes and the like kind of pulls it away from Digimon and more into Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is a good game series, usually, but I feel that kind of causes issues. So like I said, omission of the shield thing I dislike. I like that it has a very Alice in Wonderland approach. I would omit the two spikes and the shield, and it doesn't get into the perfect due to looking too much like a Kingdom Hearts enemy. So we're going to give it about a 20 seconds rest to, kind of think, have you guys comment on the design, ask questions and the like. And we're moving on to the next design, which I may have to skip because it's Pawn Chessmon White. And again, we have pretty much the same design. I'm not going to go over the speaking of this again because it's the exact same issue. Looking at the difference between Pawn Chessmon White and Pawn Chessmon Black, I think I'll do another addition that could have been changed. I think the metal on the armor, at least with Pawn Chessmon White, should be darker to add a contrast between the white and the black. But other than that, it's about the same. I don't have much to comment on this design. Much of what I said with Pawn Chessmon Black is the same with Pawn Chessmon White. They're pretty much the same. It's the same design. If you're doing a chess thing, you need white and black. And I understand why they didn't make these the same, because, you know, in chess you have white and black. So we're just going to move on to the next design, because everything I've said about Pawn Chessmon Black, about white, was said Pawn Chessmon Black. Next design we're going on to is Penmon, a bird Digimon resembling a penguin found in the computer of an Antarctic base. Since Penmon lives in snow-covered regions, it doesn't do well in the heat. It's extremely friendly to humans, however, and will happily waddle along behind them. Its wings have degenerated, so it can't fly or walk very quickly, but it can slide across the ice on its belly at almost 40 miles per hour. Or, when it's in water, it can use its small wings to skillfully swim around. Its special move is Super Slap, which involves approaching an enemy without them being noticed, and then smacking their cheeks with both arms as hard as they can. Insert Metal Gear Solid joke it there, but yeah. So, one quick thing. If you're wondering why this is called Penmon and not Pengimon or Penguinmon, that etymology is in the Japanese language. In Japanese, they refer to penguins as Pengi. This is why in Spy X Family, Anya refers to her pet penguin as Pengi, because it's penguin. And I can understand why they omitted the Gi, Pengimon. I have a feeling it was omitted because it doesn't read well, so they went with Penmon. Of course, to English speakers, it feels like this is a Digimon that is supposed to be based off of a pen. Oh, but no, it isn't. So going off of the design, I like the simple color palette. It's just, well, purple-black, which I think is purple-black. You have a very basic, what are it's called? Beak. You know, it's a fairly basic design. It almost reads like Gabumon, and I'm wondering if that was part of the design philosophy. Let me do a quick thing on Penmon, because I'm wondering when Penmon was first released. Because it's possible Penmon may be an early Digimon. And if that's the case, Digimon Try. No, okay, so... Hello! Hold on, let me get the... Hello, V Scorpia. Man, time moves fast. Yeah, it does move fast. Trust me, it gets worse with age. We're currently on Penmon. Okay, so it looks like Penmon first appeared in V-Tamer 01, so it isn't in Digimon World. So Penmon is an early design. It's just they haven't used Penmon for a lot of things. Okay, that helps. So it's an early design, so it probably does follow some elements of Gabumon. But things I like, it's a simple, relatively simple design. It reads penguin. That I particularly like. Things I would change, I would probably omit the ears, these ear things. That's something I've seen on other Digimon designs. Other than that, as a penguin concept, I think the design it reads decently well. I just don't like the ears. I think this should have just been a round thing. The other Digimon, which I forgot which basically uses this as a base, but it's supposed to be a toucan. I think it would be better to maintain that as sort of a head crest. But other than that, I think Penmon is a fairly decent design, and I'm going to give it the perfect. Mostly because it's a simple design and it reads penguin. And it's also not a recolor, unlike the other design, which I believe is a recolor of Penmon. So, yeah, things I like, it looks like a penguin. Things I don't like, it's the weird ear things. we're going to give it a 20 seconds. If there's any questions or comments, you can say them here. And that was Penmon. So as stated earlier, part of the plan for today is to get to Renamon. And then do a Muchomon. Yeah, I don't like Muchomon compared to Penmon. Phascomon. So, a dark beast Digimon living in the black woods known as the Evil Forest spread across the expanse of the dark area. Phascomon is always curled up in the trees and is often found sleeping. Although it seems harmless at first glance, this is an evil species Digimon through and through. Many reports tell of injuries occurring by those who let their guard down, allowing it to drop down from the trees above and attack. PQ then R. Down, allowing it to drop. Phascomon uses its special move Evil Snore to emit a sleep-inducing wave from its listless eyes. Our Eucalyptus Claw to attack with sharp claws containing a paralyzing venom. So, this is an interesting concept because this is obviously based off of koalas, but it's specifically based off of the drop bear joke. So, for those who don't know, one of the things one of the jokes that's oftentimes done in Australia is the saying that, oh, there's this monster called a drop bear that drops onto people and kills them. It's oftentimes associated with koalas, but I believe it was originally meant to explain how people died from Widowmaker branches. For those who don't know, a Widowmaker branch is a branch that is higher up in a tree that's broken, but it hasn't fallen. And if you're ever camping or setting up a tent, always look up above and look and see if there are any branches caught amongst the branches of a tree. Because if wind moves or another branch breaks, it's possible that one branch could come down and hit you on the head. And I believe that, I'm almost certain that's where the drop bear element comes from. End of adventure. So, let's see. Liberator. So, Phascomon appears to be a newer design. Yeah, because the first appearance its first appearance seems to be Digimon Adventure, the 2020, since I'm looking at the Wikimon and we're seeing, I forgot his name. And Digimon Adventure, that's appeared. So, Digimon Dreamers, Story Moonlight. Actually, he may have appeared earlier. Okay. So, basically, we have an evil koala that drops on people and kills them. How interesting. So, let's go to the design. Is this the rookie to the Great Demon Lord, the one who sleeps for a long time? One of the issues with that... let's see. He's a nightmare soldier. According to this, he becomes Porcupine, which then becomes Astamon. Yeah, Astamon. Psychomon. Hold on. Psychomon. Belphemon. According to this, yes, it's possible for Psychomon to become Belphemon, sleep mode. So that is a range to go, to a direction to go with this Digimon, which story-wise fits. Design-wise, going off of the concept, it's a koala. It's going off of the eucalyptus leaf, which my understanding is eucalyptus is actually kind of toxic. Not by much, but it's just a little toxic. I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. Things with the design I like. I like the concept of taking a koala which by all accounts is a fairly chill animal, and turning it into a malicious beast, I think that's a fun concept to toy with. One little thing I don't think a lot of people know, the koala roar was used as the basis for the Tyrannosaurus Rex in Jurassic Park. Not really connected to Digimon, but I think it does add a little, ooh, that's scary element. But things about the koala, I like the concept of taking a koala and making it a dangerous animal. That being said, there are some things I would change with the design. Number one, I think I would omit the tail. I understand why they have the tail. They want it to be demonic. But koalas aren't really known for having a long tail. They have a very small, nubbly of a tail. I'm okay with the red stripes going on the eyes. I think that's a decent thing to show evil. The horns, I'm not a big fan of horns on things in general, and I think they're a bit much, especially compared to the claws and the wings. But I understand why they added them to the design, because it drives the point home that this is an imp-like demon. So, but I do think they're adding a bit too much of the this is an evil thing. I would say either omit the tail or the horns, and I'm leaning towards omitting the tail. Other than that, it definitely fits the concept of a koala. And, you know, a cute thing, but also a dangerous thing. So I like that it's a koala design. I think they added weight. The only issue is I think they added too much spooky, scary demon stuff. I think they should have pulled back just a little. You know, either keep two of the horns, wings, or tail, but not all three. And the reason I'm not going after the hands, if I'm correct, koalas actually have some very scary hands. They actually have some very notable claws, and I'm actually decently okay with that, as it does add some dangerous feature to it. Other than that, I like the concept. I just think they may have went a little overboard with the demonic imagery. So, yeah, 20 seconds. Hello, Juan 44444 Gomez 4444. We're currently going through the different Digimon in the reference manual. We're currently on episode 5 of this, of going through as many of the designs as possible. It is a slow route we're going, but you know, we're making it. Let me just re-get this up because things weird happened. Okay, sorry about that. I was doing some messing with the design. But yeah, Fluffy Digimon, a pretty neat little design. So, we're going to move on from Psychomon. Next we're going into is Pillowmon. Another sleeping one, and it's a Crosswars one. And we got some interesting add-ons. Pillowmon is a Digimon resembling a cross between a pillow and a sheep. It spends most of its time floating around while asleep. Pillamon can bring deep, satisfying sleep to anyone nearby, although it eats the dreams of those who benefit from its presence. What's more, 2 types of bubbles float near Pillamon while it's sleeping. The first is a lullaby bubble, which appears when Pillamon is enjoying its sleep. Those who touch this bubble will soon fall into a peaceful slumber. The other nightmare is the nightmare bubble, which appears when Pillamon's sleep is less pleasant. Those who touch this bubble will suffer a psychic attack in the form of several bad dreams and delusions. Note, Pillamon was a winning submission in the original Digimon contest for Digimon Fusion. So that's interesting. So, right from the get-go, we have some back connection. This is Cross Wars Pillamon. Compared to a lot of the Cross Wars designs, which have a tendency to be very toyetic and a little complex at times, Pillamon, I think, is a fairly decent and okay design. The idea that it eats at dreams, I believe that's based off of a Japanese yokai. Hold on. Which is for some reason based off of a Baku, which is for whatever reason based off of a tapir. So, right from the get-go, they did a good job of depicting this as a... Well, actually, no, it's not a tapir. It has horns and fluffy, so it's more based off of the sleeping sheep. How did I not catch that? Well, they really did a good job of bringing that this thing causes sleep. You have the nightcap, the pillow, it looks fluffy, it's sleeping. It's a fairly decent design. As a contest submission, I can see why they selected it, since it really is different. That is true. There is the Tapir Tapirmon, which is more based off the yokai. This is more based on the general, if you counting sheep concept. So, things about the design I like. I think I like the easy to read element of this, because you got some complexity between the hat and the horns and the sheep element, but it's not too complex. And that's one of the issues that Cross Wars has, is some of the designs were very complex to the point that they can be a little unreadable and are more toyetic. This actually feels like this could have been an earlier design. Beep, beep, I'm a sheep. Yes, that classic meme. So, it's a fairly basic design, and even if it doesn't look like a pillow, it almost looks like a Digimon either swaddled in cloth sleeping or wearing a weird sleeping gown. So, it's a lot of directions to go with this. I think if I were to change the design, I would probably want to omit the hat and maybe put a sleep mask on the face. Just to bring home that, yeah, it's not waking up, it's just sleeping like that, because, I don't know, the hat kind of brings the attention up to the head when it really should be brought down more to the eyes to bring up that this thing is sleeping. But other than that, excuse me, let me moist my throat. Other than that, I like the design. It's well thought, it's a simple design, but it's complex enough that it fits. And I think I'll say is, it gets the perfect. This is a perfect design for a rookie, and I would like to see more of this. So, a rather surprising thing with Cross Wars. So, things I like that it's simple enough that it's easy to read, but complicated enough that it's not just some random whatever. Things I don't like, I think the hat should be omitted or replaced with, say, a sleeping mask. And I would have added a sleeping mask just to drive the point that, look at the eyes, it's sleeping. So, we're going to give it 20 seconds. And we're going to move on to our next Digimon. Pomumon. This vegetarian Digimon may look like a bird type, but its body is stuffed with high sugar content juice, just like a fruit. For this reason, Pomumon has many natural enemies, from bird to insect Digimon. Although it has wings, it flies slowly and becomes defenseless during flight, so it stays mostly on land. When it senses danger, Pomumon uses Rapid Seed to spit innumerable seed-like bullets from its mouth as a defensive technique. It also uses Fruit Rush to curl up and charge, more as a means to escape than attack. So, this is based, looking at the fruit design, I believe this is based off of a dragon fruit, which is a fruit I don't like, but hey, they really leaned into the bird design, and I'm assuming these are the small wings that they have. As a Digimon, I think they went too far into the this is a bird rather than a fruit, because I don't know, just looking at it, it looks like a bird, and I understand that's the concept of it. But I think they could have done more to really bring home that this is a fruit, and that it's being hunted because it's a fruit. That being said, I like that the beak that they gave to the design looks like the top of a fruit that you remove from a tree. They have wings that look like kind of like leaves. And yeah, it's an interesting idea to make a fruit monster. Things I think I would want to omit. I think I would want to omit the legs, because this thing kind of looks like a small velociraptor thing. And I like small velociraptor things, but it kind of pulls away from the fruit concept. I think if it had been, say, just the fruit thing and it kind of flies around with its wings to move around, I think that would work. But other than that, it's a simple-ish design that's complex enough. I don't give it the perfect, mostly because it's confused between the bird and the fruit, and I think they leaned too much into the bird when I think they should have went more into the fruit. So I like the idea that it looks like a fruit. I think they should have leaned more into that, and they should have omitted the feet. So 20 seconds. So moving on into the next design. Psychomon. So we have another recolor. Yay. A Digimon characterized by its disconcerting, gaudy coloring. Psychomon is said to be a mutation of Gabumon. Its personality is as bright and flamboyant as its multicolored body, but without its pelt, it just becomes as... Are there more Dragon Digimon than Dragon Pokemon? Let's hold on that. Because just timid Gabumon would be. It uses a special move, Colorful Spark, to concentrate primary colored electric energy and detonate on its enemies. Our glittering horn to charge and unleash the same colorful electric energy from its horn. Don't look down on colorful dance either, where Psychomon uses the colors of its body in a bizarre dance bewilder flows. I'll say, I think Pokemon has a good number of Dragon Digimon. The issue is Pokemon has a lot of Dragon Digimon. Pokemon has a lot of Dragon Pokemon, but the designs are all over the place, from here's Goo Dragon to here's a Goo Fruit, Dragon Fruit, and I think the issue with Pokemon's dragon designs is they kind of go all over the place. And yet Charizard is not a dragon for some reason. But Digimon, I feel, does a better job of going more towards this is an actual dragon. But, both have its advantages and disadvantages. The issue I have with Psychomon is it's a recolor. And they basically said, let's make this as gaudy as possible. Let's make it as colorful and off-putting, discolored as possible. And in that case, they did a good job. But again, it's a recolor and not a particularly good one. Then again, that seems to have been the point. On one hand, they did well with the concept of making it a Gabumon that just has eye-watering design concepts. On the other hand, I don't think this was necessary. If this had been, say, like, Pimp Gabumon, okay, fine, I can get that. But I don't know why this design was that. This is again the issue we have with recolors, where what's the point of having the design? You just colored the Digimon differently. You didn't really change it. And I'm thinking, if you're going to make this like gaudy, add elements to the design that really bring up that it's gaudy. Think a pimp named Slickback. Add in, the wide hat with the feather. Add in a furry boa. Add things that make it that he's trying to attract attention. Gaudy elements to really make it that this is a gaudy Gabumon. Because just making these colors, I don't think it's worth enough to make another Digimon. And so I'm just going to say I like the concept of trying to explain why it's recolored differently, but I don't think it was necessary, especially considering where a lot of recolors go. So we're going to give it 20 seconds. How about that new Digimon game they announced? Don't worry, Juan, we will be getting that after Renamon. Because that and the Digimon World on GOG I do want to discuss. So we will just be discussing that after Renamon. So, and we are almost there. So, Terromon. So, Terromon is one of the new Digimon, came from the Liberators book. Bird dragon Digimon that freely soars through the skies over vast woodlands. The horns on its head are soft organs that play much more of a sensory role than an offensive one. By reading wind currents with these horns, Terromon can actually perceive changes in climate. Terromon is extremely curious about other kinds of creatures, and often thinks of ways to fly alongside and make contact with other Digimon. These include rookie Digimon like Biyomon and Falcomon, as well as, sometimes, larger champions and ultimates. Terromon also has the ability to instantaneously regrow its feathers as means of erasing its wounds when hurt. When using its special move, Wind Slicer, Terromon flaps its forewings to launch a slicing gust of wind. Terromon's Rumble Claw attack, meanwhile, sees it stab enemies with the talons on its feet as it flies overhead. So, again, Juan says, yeah, all the new Digimon things to do, and that pretty cool how long we gotta wait for shoes. Don't worry. We will get to that. Terromon. So, about Terromon, fairly base, it's obviously based off of the pterosaurs, you know, pterodons and the like. And that's an interesting way to go at it, because on one hand, it's a dragon, similar to, say, Agumon and the like, but you also went the route of, well, it's a bird. If anything, it reminds me of Jet from Sonic the Hedgehog, so because of the green. And I'm wondering if that was part of the inspiration, but you never know. I like that mixture of dinosaur and bird, especially how nowadays it's generally agreed upon that dinosaurs have feathers. So I like that Oreopteryx look of the Digimon. So I like the Oreopteryx looks of the Digimon. I like that they mixed that furry dinosaur and feathers. Like, overall, it's a very good design, which is to be expected of a main character. And it almost makes me wonder if, had they went with Tai and Sora being a canon couple, this would have been their child's Digimon. But as we know, wasn't to be. Such is life. But sorry, shippers. But things I do, looking at it, things specifically I like about the design. I like the bone crest because it gives it this armored element while also moving into like a tribal war mask almost. And it's an interesting concept, like the past coming to attack and the like. So I like that idea. I like the green and red. These are complementary colors. Things I don't like, I think there should have been an omission of the furry collar. Because it's a bit of a weird addition compared to everything else. I think a better option would have been to maybe add in a bone collar to represent sort of a bracing element. But other than that, it's a very good design. In fact, I will give it the perfect, just as this nice concept of pterodon mixing dinosaur with bird. It's a well thought design. It's definitely indicative of a Digimon partner to someone who's a main character, and that can cause issues. But otherwise, it's a good design, and I like the colors. So we're going to give it a 20 seconds. So things I like the Oreopteryx design, I like the mask. Things I don't like the collar. But otherwise, I'll say it's a perfect design. So, 20 seconds. So, I'll say for Digimon Liberators, they did it. They knocked it out of the park with Teromon, and it's a good way to go with things. Yes, it is a cool bird, a cool dinosaur dragon bird. Going too fast. Pulsemon. Pulsemon, a Digimon whose Digivolution was influenced by EKG waveform data stored in hospitals and gyms. Pulsemon has a lively, upbeat personality and is happy to interact with anyone. Its characteristic lighting-shaped hair reflects its emotions and will droop when Pulsemon is feeling down. In battle, Pulsemon makes use of its natural speed to make it tricky to pin down, moving around in lightning-shaped patterns. Its special moves are Electric Rush, where it slams into its opponents at lightning speed, and Minor Impulse, where it fires a blast of biologically produced electricity from its hair. A large number of Digimon, aside from Pulsemon, have been discovered to be influenced by human biological data when improving their abilities or digivolving. So, Pulsemon, I believe, was created for the Vita Bracelet, which makes sense, given that the whole thing with the Vita Bracelet was reading pulses. But I'm going to do a quick look at that. That's interesting. So, Pulsemon may be an older design. Not by much, though. I believe he was made as a sort of side promotion for the Vita Bracelet. For those who don't know, the Vita Bracelet was a form of Digivice that was designed so that it would read your heart rate, and depending on how much exercise you did, you could influence the evolution of a Digimon. It was a very gimmicky toy. I have one. I have the VB bracelet, which was the newer version that did not release in the US. It was only released in Japan, which was a bit of a bummer. The toy did not sell well in the US. They did have a specific version of it that added the DC heroes and villains to it, but otherwise, outside of that, they had they had Kamen Rider and Metabots as part of the device. But other than that, it wasn't that popular of a toy. It was a popular toy, but it didn't last long, and I think by the time they were getting towards Seekers, they wanted to move on to another toy. You used to be able to connect it to a app, but the app has since been discontinued, and there has been fan attempts to bring it back. But otherwise, the toy is pretty much done. You can still buy it. They're about like $100, maybe cheaper now, given that the app has died down. Pulsemon, I believe, was designed for the toy, because I remember seeing the Vita bracelet in a Target, either Walmart or Target, and they were advertising it with Pulsemon. Which, number one, if you're going to be advertising Digimon in the US, you either want to go with Agumon or Gabumon or any of the original Adventure cast or the Tamers group. Pulsemon, I think, was the wrong direction to go with that. Maybe as an additional pack-in, but as is, it wasn't the right... maybe if Pulsemon was in every Vita bracelet, just as is, you don't need the VB cards. But that's sort of the design element. That's sort of the history of Pulsemon. Things I like about Pulsemon, I like that they went with a very Sonic the Hedgehog design, and I'm thinking that was the direction they wanted to go with it, because this looks like a yellow Sonic the Hedgehog. If this was a character in Sonic the Hedgehog, I would say, yeah, this, Ian Flynn has decided to add something. Now, granted, we already have an electric character in Sonic. It's called Surge, who's green and more of a Tenrock. This is just an electric thing. But, that's neither here nor there. Things I like about the design, I like that they really went in with the electricity aspect. You have the yellow, you have some slight green for life, especially with EKG readings. I like the shoes. These are big, bulky shoe things that indicate that they really run. They're really going into the electric element of this design. Things I don't like. I don't think I like the ahoge up front. I understand why they're doing it. They add into the electrical element. But I think, given everything, just make his head like an electric bolt. Like he's racing forward. If you've ever seen Freakazoid or really any Sonic thing, Sonic's face is always forward with the hair swept back. The ahoge up front, the lightning ahoge, I think ruins the design and that concept. Or at least it messes with it. But otherwise, this is a pretty good design. For a Digimon that was more or less meant for a toy, for the Vita bracelet, they did an amazing job making this work. And I will give Pulsemon the perfect on that. I like the concept. I like the Sonic the Hedgehog pseudo influence in it. I don't like the electric ahoge. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And the fact that it's based off of EKG readings is an interesting concept, especially, again, working for the story. This really works for the Vita bracelet. And I have a feeling we're not going to be seeing this Digimon outside of Seekers, which is a shame. So, yeah, I like the design. 20 seconds. And so, we farewell to Pulsemon. And if I'm correct, we come to the Lady of the Hour, the myth, the legend, Renamon. So, let's read up Renamon. A beastman Digimon with the appearance of a golden fox. Renamon's relationship to humans is clearly demonstrated, and its in-training form can digivolve into a Digimon of high intelligence if it's raised properly. Calm and collected at all times, it trains in order to keep its cool in any situation. Renamon's tall, slender form stands out among rookie Digimon, and it prefers the speed of its many techniques over power when it comes to fighting the enemy. Its signature move, Kohenkyo, is a transformation technique that copies the opponent's appearance and overwrites its texture. Its special move, Diamond Storm, hurls razor-sharp wood chips at the enemy. So, as many of you all know, Renamon originated from Digimon Tamers. And she has been popular ever since, and I think we know why. Curiously, Renamon was originally not supposed to be Renamon. According to Kanaka's notes, which you can still read, her original name was supposed to be Lunamon. Sort of the, moon. And if I'm going to be honest, no, don't say that. That implies I've been fake. With that in mind, I'll get to that Renamon 565. With that in mind, I'm glad they changed it to Renamon instead of Lunamon, because Rena is the French term meaning fox. And it's a good idea. I think from a naming convention it works. Interesting thing about Kanaka, he is fully aware about the connotation Renamon has to the furry community. And in fact, it says, if you look up Renamon, please have your safe search on. And yeah, you can probably see why. If you've been to any furry convention, you know exactly why. Foxes, wolves, canid animals are very popular in the furry community, and this is basically a fursuit. Things I like about the design. I like the fox design, the fox concept. Obviously, Renamon is based off of the Kitsune, however you want to pronounce it. I say Kitsune. They also added in sort of pseudo ninja aspect, especially around her legs, which have that bulked up element that you see with some Hakama, I believe, or some ninja designs. They didn't omit the tail, which is a good thing. Again, fox. They added in a weird purple element. See, Gatomon was my favorite Digimon until Renamon. Gatomon is also popular with the furry community. I hate to say, but yeah, Gatomon is another very popular Digimon along with Renamon. But I think it's because of the furry community that Renamon has maintained popularity and still appears in Digimon medium. After Tamers, she made an appearance in... what was that game? Digimon Data Squad. She appears as one of the main characters. Granted, in that game, I believe Renamon is male-coded. Which, here's the thing about Digimon. just because a Digimon looks feminine or looks masculine, there's a chance that it's not. It's been confirmed that Digimon have no genders, which Renamon even says. And in the Data Squad game, Renamon is specifically a male, is masculine, if I'm remembering correctly. They still use the same voice actress. It's one of the things you have to remember about Digimon. It gets very weird, especially when you look at things like Lilithmon and the like. Just don't think about it. Just don't think about it is the best way to look at it. But we've talking enough about that thing. Things I like about Renamon, I like that they went with the fox aspect and made it into a ninja thing. Things I don't like, the arm warmers I think are a bit much, and I also think that the yin-yang symbol on the legs, I think I would actually no, they are symmetrical. Never mind, pulling that away. Other elements about the design. So, before this session, part of what I was doing was trying to figure out how would I deal with Renamon, because let's be real here, Renamon is big. Holy fox. Yeah. I know the arm warmers are supposed to be a connection to our later forms. Especially with the yin-yang on the arm warmers. One of the elements about the design I was going to say is I would have preferred if she wasn't as tall, because that causes some conflict with rookies. But thinking about it like that, that's really not that big of an issue, because we've had some tall rookies before. Guilmon is another tall Digimon, and he got the perfect for being a rookie. This is going to be tough. So, just to say, because I have to say something I dislike, I'm not a big fan of the purple arm warmers. But other than that, I think the Renamon design is a perfect. I'm going to say it right now before I start changing things. Given the history of Renamon and the concept and the design, I think Renamon gets the perfect. She is I will say she's also one of my more favorite designs. In fact, her, Black Gatomon, and Dorumon are like my three that I kind of have a soft spot for when it comes to the rookies. Although, compared to Renamon X Antibody, which we're getting to next, you'll see which one I prefer over the two. Other than that, I think Renamon, from a concept as a ninja fox, was a great design and a great and an ongoing and endearing design. Was Renamon your first animated crush as a kid? No. And the reason I say that was I didn't really get that big into Digimon until much later. And by that point, Tamers had already moved to Jetix. So it's kind of moved on. I'm going to kind of be quiet over what was my original crush because, some things best left quiet. But, yeah, I like the Renamon design. But, yeah, there is a reason she is still considered the queen of the furries years later. There's a reason her design is incredibly popular. And, it's basically fursuit. It's a fursuit. But they did more than just random person in a fursuit. It's a well done design. Like I said, the only thing I would kind of omit is the arm. I would change the arm warmers. One other concept about Renamon that I don't think a lot of people talk about is the pseudo wings on her shoulders. These are you don't see this too often in artwork, and I think it's omitted because it's a fox, you don't really need it. but it does add to the holy imagery. I will say one thing with Renamon. I do kind of wish there was a virus version of Renamon, similar how there's a Godhomon and how there's a Black Godhomon. I would have liked to see a virus version of Renamon, a sort of evil version of Renamon. Especially since we have other versions of her evolutions that are not as holy or not as good. But you know, who knows, things change, because she did get another version, which I do kind of prefer over the base Renamon. So, with that being said, we're going to give it a... So, things I like. I like that they made a concept of a fox ninja and made it read very well. What I don't like is the arm warmers. And this design does get the perfect. Which, I mean, given that she's appeared in so much Digimon media, I'm not the only one. So, we're going to give it 20 seconds. Yes, the fox emoji. And for those who don't know, this symbol, if I'm correct, with the hands, is supposed to be fox in Japan. I could be wrong. I'm going off of what I've seen with Baby Metal, where one of the singers says that she's controlled by a fox demon. And so for the last Digimon today, because my voice is acting weird, and I do want to discuss GOG, Renamon X Antibody. Same element, so let's go over the X Antibody changes. Renamon X Antibody channels the otherworldly power welling up within inside into an aura that surrounds it, which shows that despite only being a rookie, it is already a proud Amyoji well versed in the art of sorcery. The appearance of the second long tail and the red patterns on its body are signs of Renamon X Antibody increased strength. Its techniques have also grown more refined, and it makes cunning use of its special moves to control the battlefield. These include Taikyokusen, which involves firing a spinning yin-yang slash to slice through foes, and Kochogen, where it changes not only its texture data, but that of the surrounding area as well, inviting foes to step into a world of illusions. So quick thing. Juan 44444 Gomez 4444. I'm a fan of the design, more fan of the final evolution. Are you referring to Sakuyamon? Because Sakuyamon is another good design as well. The only other two-tailed foxes I saw were from Jade Empire. Now that is an old game. BioWare, you need to re-release Jade Empire. Because right now I think the only place to get it is on EA. By the way, if you have EA Origin, upgrade to EA because the EA app, because Origin is going away, unfortunately. I hate to say, but yeah, Jade Empire. All I know is John Cleese is a character in that game. So I'm gonna first say something about by the way, I also like Sakuyamon's design, which is going to get weird when I talk about Renamon X Antibody. One quick thing about design-wise. If you ever make a design, don't do this. What is this? I can't read it. Before we get to the actual design, let's go with the artwork. No. This is a terrible art depiction of the Digimon. I have no idea what I'm looking at. It's cluttered as all sin. You have these squiggly squaggly magic all over. And I did use one of my playthroughs in Cyber Sleuth. Neat. Sakuyamon has a Maiden Moan and X Antibody. We will get to Sakuyamon and Maiden and X Antibody forms when we go to those Digimon, which may be a bit of time, but hopefully after the rookies we'll get to the champions and then Ultimates and Megas. We've got a ways to go. But with this, so I'll say with artwork, This is a problem with X antibody designs because they add all this garbage that is difficult to read and it makes the design look cluttered. If you ever make concept art, don't do this. Do not do this because I have no idea what I'm looking at. The pose is all over the place. You've got these squiggles everywhere. And I don't know what this is. And until the card game came out, in fact, let me quickly get artwork from the card game. Because let me go off of that. Because, I'm sorry, this right here this is what I'm expecting from a concept art. Let's see, finally going to get into the best Digimon gun. It ain't 90s anymore with pouch it becomes the big thing. I hope the upcoming Digimon game allows use of antibody Digimons. Did Rifle made... So, this is a design element. This is how the artwork should look like. I can read what this is. I can read that this is a Renamon, that it is a two-tailed fox, that it is elegant as well as powerful and can bring mass amounts of destruction. This is what you want from a design. This is how you want to present your design. It has to be readable and understandable and easy on the eyes. Yes, so Renamon X Antibody is a complex design, but I can read this. I can see this. It's presented as this powerful monster with like a holy ring behind it. This is a design. This is visual white noise. This is visual night white noise. And I don't know what I'm looking at. And until that artwork came up, I actually had to ask, hey, does anyone have any art that makes it easier to read what on earth Renamon X Antibody is supposed to look like? Because I don't know. So, with that being said, we're going back to to where this design should look like. Because, I'm sorry, we're going to use this as an example. So, move on option with plug. Let's go over this design and what I like. Renamon X bad side. Things I like about the design. You took Renamon, which is already a very good design, and you really leaned into the Kitsune aspect. You gave her two tails, which, if I'm going to be honest, should have been in the original design, just because of the twin-tailed fox. You know, 9 tails showing that this is a Kitsune and not just a random fox. Because this looks powerful. I like the ringlet ear. I like the earrings in the ears. It adds, it moves the eyes towards the ears. I like that they tried to make Renamon almost a more feral, scary beast that you don't want to mess with, but they still kept the elegance. There is a reason I like Renamon X Antibody over the original version, and it's not because, oh, I like X Antibodies. I like it because it feels like an elegant monster that you do not want to mess with. It's a monster that can either banish you with magic or can attack you with power. This is one of, if not my favorite Digimon. She gets beaten out by Dorumon, but that's because I really like Dorumon. I love Dorumon as a design. And the other issue I don't like about the thing I don't like about Renamon X Antibody is the only versions of her that have an X antibody is Sakuyamon, and there are some issues I have with Sakuyamon X antibody, which I'll get to another time when we get to her, because we have a ways to go. I wish her entire line had X antibody forms, because this is a beautiful design. They did some simple changes, making her more powerful, giving her an extra tail, adding in red accents, making her eyes look more like that fox kabuki mask, giving her the earrings. Amazing things. The only thing I don't like, we're just going to look it at the head. It's more pronounced on the card. I'm not a big fan of the red markings on the forehead. But then again, that's like a small nitpick. I would be okay if the original Renamon didn't have the purple, but this had the purple, representing her strength going higher as into the dark arts, into the magic. This design gets a perfect. It is a great design. It is a great Digimon design. And it's amazing. Still need to get the Renamon and Renamon X cards. That's true. Although I played Dorumon, so I would like to one day try to run a Renamon Dorumon deck, but that's not going to work. But this is an amazing design. And unfortunately, instead of getting this artwork, which looks cool, we get whatever this is. This looks like Renamon out of a trailer park. This is not how you present your characters or your design. Especially a character like Renamon. This should have never been considered. This artwork should have been sent back and said, we like the design, present it better. And it's a shame that this is the official artwork to Renamon X Antibody. This is atrocious. She gets the perfect, and is one of my favorite. And my only thing I would change is probably the forehead thing, but even that's not really a change. But what needs to change is this artwork. Digimon Web chose a very bad angle for Renamon X. Yes. It's very Rob Liefeld, as someone pointed out. The anatomy is all over the place. This is not how you depict your characters. This should have never been considered. This should have been omitted. You need, if you ever do a design, this is what you want to shoot for when depicting your character, especially something like Renamon. Not Trailer Park Renamon. Elegant but feral and dangerous Renamon. This is what I want from an X antibody. It can be complicated. You can add elements, but you have to present it properly and give it the respect that the design needs. Not this. So, we're going to give 20 seconds just to think on this before we get to the talking on GOG and the next Digimon game. Because those two are kind of connected to one another, and I want to discuss where things are going to go. And yeah, this will be the last Digimon because you can't really top that, especially everything I said. So, we're going to give it 20 seconds. Actually, hold on. Because I want to show a version of Renamon that I had commissioned for use in a role-playing game. And a version that I kind of liked. Sorry. Just to give you an idea towards what I wanted. What I would want from a Renamon X antibody. This was something I commissioned for a role-playing game. Specifically, she's called Renamon Perm X, which was the idea that Renamon has the X antibody permanently. For those who don't know, this artwork is done by Digimon. So that gives you an idea of kind of what I would have changed. Like I said, this was used for a role play as a character. But, yeah. There were some other design elements, but we'll move on. Renamon X is a really awesome design. Yes, and it's a reason why I like X Antibody Renamon over standard Renamon. So, we're going to go back. We're going to give it 20 seconds just to wait. And yeah, we're going to go on towards the GOG aspect of things. Because, yeah. So we're going to go back. If there's anything you guys want to talk about before I start, we can discuss it now. Because, yeah, actually, hold on. Hold on. Oh, I messed that up. I was hoping to maybe see the trailer. So, actually, no, we're not going to see the trailer, mostly because I'm worried about this hitting some copyright. I can get away with showing the pictures. I'm worried about showing the trailer because that might cause issues, and people have had problems showing trailers from a Japanese company. So, let's discuss the GOG situation. So, for those who don't know, this is GOG. This is the GOG. Messed that up. Those who don't know, this is GOG. For those who don't know, GOG Good Old Games is a website that was set up as an alternative storefront to say what's out there. You can generally buy a lot of older games that are not available on Steam and pretty much elsewhere, because let's be real here, you're probably going to be buying from Steam. Yes, I know the Epic storefront exists, but honestly, most people I find that goes to Epic goes there for free games. It's either Steam. GOG I like because you can find a lot of older titles that aren't on Steam and that aren't on Steam but still available. So so GOG I like. It used to be on GOG that some titles, if you had... Oh, there's not much I can do here. Thing I really liked about GOG was the thing I liked about GOG one of the things about GOG was if you had a physical copy of certain games, you could input the CD number, and you'd get a copy of the game, a digital copy. So, one of the big things about GOG is they like to release their games to be DRM free. That's a good thing. That is a very good thing, because for a lot of these games, they can have old DRM, or they can have old DRM that's no longer active, looking at you, Games for Windows Live, or, some people like to take these games and play them on period hardware. LGR did a big thing about that. A lot of times when he reviews an older game, he will look for it on GOG and try and make it work on period hardware through an SD card. A specific SD card. And a lot of people that like to play games oftentimes like to run these on a Raspberry Pi with DOSBox and the like. Now, recently GOG has done something called Dreamlist. And what this is us, the community, going to GOG and saying, hey, we would like to see these games onto GOG. We'd like to purchase these games or get access to these games. And now, for the while, GOG used to have Dreamlist. It's come back. They didn't, but it's come back. And it's sort of like a wish list. It helps GOG figure out where to go with the storefront. Because a lot of times, most of the games they get have to come from the publishers going to GOG and releasing. In this case, this kind of gets GOG to figure out, hey, where do we go? Who do we contact and the like? Now, Digimon World, for those who don't know, was released back in, I believe, 1998. Hold on. I may be confusing. No, 1999. Back in 1999. And it was originally released on PS1, but there was a PC release in Korea back in, I think, 2002. This is considered one of the big PlayStation games, so if you had a PlayStation, you probably want Digimon World. Digimon World was kind of based on the Virtual Pet. It's kind of like a pseudo emulation of it, although not entirely 100%. And okay, we've gone over a lot about Digimon World. Let's discuss, do I think GOG will be able to push forward with this? Let's first go over the yes and the no. The big issue, do I think GOG can get Digimon World onto GOG? Yes, I think it's possible. But there's a major problem that GOG is going to have. And that's going to have to do with the fact that Bandai, it has to do with how GOG operates. So, GOG, as I said, as a storefront, releases their games as DRM free. That means you can buy the file. Once you buy the game, you have the files and you can do whatever you want with them. Legally. You can't really sell or illegally distribute the titles. You can't do that. You have to actually buy them. This is a bit of a problem, and this is something I've noticed with a lot of Japanese companies, and I have a feeling this is how Bandai will look at this. The big issue will be that lack of DRM. For a company like Bandai, they may not be happy with the idea of a game like Digimon World being shipped out and having no control. They don't want Bandai doesn't want this game to appear on Internet Archive or, moving around the dark net. It already is. That's true with everything. They want some type of protection. Another issue is that it's an older title, and Bandai may look at this and go, why are we selling Digimon World? It came from 1999, it's 2025. Let's sell the newer Digimon World, because that's a newer world. It's basically the same game. Why are we releasing Digimon World 1? So GOG is going to have a couple of hurdles right from the get-go. That being said, Digimon World is an older title. So Bandai may look at it and go, well, it is an older title. We don't think anyone's really going to bother with it, so yeah, you can release it. But given the popularity it's getting, Bandai may also look at this and go, oh, there are people interested in this game. Let's re-release it on Steam. Let's just take the Korean version that we have on PC and re-release it as, with an English translation, and just go on from there. That would be a problem because Digimon World has some issues, and the Korean version, from what I understand, is based off of an early version of the US version of Digimon World, and it has some difficult issues. It has some problems. What I think GOG has to first contend with is convincing Bandai that this game their service won't be used as a pirate software. They're not going to be, Digimon World from GOG is not just going to randomly appear on random pirate sites. That's going to probably be the first hurdle GOG will have. The second will be if Bandai wants to release it, because Bandai may not be willing to re-release this title given that they already have other games out there. That being said, Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory were originally Japanese-only exclusives, and they got a U.S. release mainly because there were players outside of Japan that wanted to play those games. So there is so they're fully aware that people are interested, and if this comes out, if they get more knowledge about this, they're going to be more interested in this title. And so it's ultimately going to be in Bandai's court whether they want to push forward with Digimon World, or if they want to release Digimon World as is, or if they want to do a remaster with, say, World 2 and 3 and 4. Because let's not forget about Digimon World 4. There is another issue that we have to contend with, and that is another game that, and that's Digimon Story Time Stranger. So, here's the thing. We have another game coming out, and that's Digimon Story Time Stranger. And Bandai may be looking at this going, we already have a game coming out. We don't want to release another title, especially an old one like Digimon World. And if that's the case, there may be Digimon World might not come out, especially with World Stranger. The alternative is that Bandai will look at Digimon World and Time Stranger and go, we will release Time Stranger, and as a pre-order bonus or as a bonus, we will release the original Digimon World. Really, it's hard to say. I do hope Digimon World comes out, and I think GOG has a good chance at it, but it's going to have to come down to Bandai. Now, what about Digimon Time Stranger? I'm happy. I'm glad that we're getting another Digimon game, a newer title, especially one in the story series, because the last one we had, Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, that came out about 10 years ago, and it took a while for it to get into the US. We've also had Digimon Survive, which had its issues, and we also had World Re-Rise. So we have some good games coming out. Next order. We have some good games coming out. And there's a and I'm glad that we're getting another game. It shows that the Digimon franchise is still alive and kicking. It's a bit too early to say where they're going to go with the game. It does look like the characters they're having is Gomamon, Gomamon, Patamon, and Demi-Devimon. And as for my starter, I may go with Gomamon or Demi-Devimon. It really depends. I'm not a big fan of Patamon. But we'll see. I am intrigued to see what they'll do with the Iliad server, especially since that seems to be where they're doing a lot of direction with it. But other than that, not much. It's a bit too early, and I think I want to see more of where they're going with this. My biggest concern over this is Bandai, and Bandai has a tendency to be a bit weird with their games. We are getting an English cast, which is a good sign. On the other hand, I don't know how far that's going to go. I don't know whether this is just going to be a poor port of the Japanese version, or if they're actually going to attempt to make the writing work in the US and Europe. My apologies. If they're going to give it a decent English dub. So it's going to be really hard to see where this thing goes. I'm hopeful, but we'll see. Hopefully, if they do release Time Stranger, they'll also release Digimon World as sort of like a bonus. Because that would be a great connection of the two. But yeah, that is basically today's session. We didn't do too much today, but we did hit Renamon, and we did a good rant on Renamon X antibody and what you shouldn't do when making an X antibody. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done. I'll see you all guys in another 2 weeks. By then, I will finalize more about the convention I'm going to. And I will say I am looking to get a press pass to go to that convention. So we'll see. I may have to see about getting me a GoPro. Yay! As for the review, look out for it. After Tom Clancy's End War, I'm hoping to do Digimon, the Blu-ray release of the movies. So yeah, that is the plan moving forward. I will see you all next time in about 2 weeks. And yeah, I'm going to end stream. See you all in 2 weeks.